Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Gabby and today I'm going to be doing a video that I'm very excited about. It's going to be kind of like the ultimate short horror recommendation list. I had this idea that I wanted to dedicate a video entirely to horror novellas because I'm such a huge fan of horror novellas. And if you didn't know, novella is just kind of like a shorter novel, essentially. It's a book that's around 100 pages or less or a little bit more. And I decided that I would want to break this up into 3 different sections. So I'm going to be having books that are under 100 pages, books that are under 200 pages, and then books that are around a little over 200 pages but less than 300 pages. And so I feel like this is just going to be the ultimate guide if you are looking for something that's a little bit on the shorter side when it comes to reading horror books. I'm going to be recommending you all of the short horror books that I've enjoyed so far. Before we jump into today's video, I wanted to say a huge thank you to a new sponsor on this channel. I am literally so excited about getting the opportunity to work with this sponsor because it's Casetify! I have been wanting a Casetify phone case for so freaking long now, so the opportunity to get to work with them on this video is a freaking dream. And if you haven't heard of Casetify for some reason, they are the world's most popular tech accessory brand, and they're very well known for not only their protective phone cases but also their global collaborations. I really love that these phone cases have so many different customizable options, and they have over 2,000 designs to choose from on their website. Best thing about getting a phone case from Casetify is the fact that they are so protective. Getting a case with Casetify means they'll be 20% more protective, 4 times military standards. They are test dropped 104 times with an 8 feet drop protection. And now Casetify has recently introduced the Bounce case, which this is the most protective phone case they've ever had. It has these little edges, like these little corners where the phone will literally just bounce right off the ground. And with this Bounce case, you can withstand drops from up to 21 feet. You know, I wasn't totally sure if this was gonna work, so I did a few tests myself. I just dropped my phone from a pretty good height and the phone just bounces right off the ground. Like, it's actually pretty incredible. I feel like that is a super good feature for people that are afraid of dropping their phones, or for people that do drop their phones very often, because you have a lot less to worry about knowing it's just gonna bounce right off the ground. I also think they have a really great artist program, and they're able to work with so many different partners globally. And I think it's really great that Casetify cares about sustainability, because they've recycled over 51,000 cases, and their cases are 65% recycled, which means 20% less carbon emissions. They also have these really cute and functional accessories like these phone straps and these phone charms, which you can just hook onto your phone. You can tie it around at any part and hold it this way. I also have been a huge fan of this phone strap. It's so easy to just carry your phone like this around your neck, and it's so easy to just keep your phone around your neck and you just have it handy whenever you need to use it. I actually really like this because I don't have a lot of pants that have pockets on them, and so usually I'm always just kind of like shoving my phone somewhere to try to like help me carry it, and so now I have this and I don't have to. And this is way more comfortable than like wearing a lanyard. It's really cozy and I really love the design of it. It's like black and gold, and you can customize this too however you'd like. So you can go to casetify.com/gabbyreads to get 15% off your order. And thank you so much once again to Casetify for sponsoring today's video, and now let's get on to the horror books. Okay, so as mentioned, I'm going to be breaking this up into 3 different categories, if you will. I'll have timestamps for the different categories if you want to jump around in this video. So the first one is going to be around 100 pages or less, and then the second category is going to be around 200 pages or just over, and then the third category is going to be they're more than 200 pages but they're less than 300 pages. I also thought it would be fun for me to try and pitch all of these books with only like 3 words or 3, you know, short sayings, just to give you a general idea of what the book is about and what's going on. But I don't want to be explaining a full synopsis for every single book because we have so many to get through. And so for this first section, let's get started. The first one is going to be around 100 pages or less. So all of these books are going to be either less than 100 pages or just a little bit over 100 pages. So the first book that I want to recommend is Blinky. This one is only 73 pages long, and this one is about a man who his infant daughter dies, and then there's a blanket that's haunted. The next book is going to be Sour Candy. This one is only 84 pages, and this one has to do with a child stranger who shows up with some sour candy. It sounds kind of lame when I say it like that, but it's really creepy, I swear. The next one is going to be The Boy in the Woods by Scott Thomas. This one is only 84 pages, and all I'll say about this one is summer camp horror vibes, and something evil has infected the counselors at this camp. Alright, so the next one is going to be Petrified Women by Jeremy Ray. This one is only 92 pages, and this one, all I will say about about it is that it's about a prank that goes wrong. It goes sideways, and it's really creepy. I mean, just look at this cover. You can imagine, okay? This shit is so creepy. The next book I'm gonna recommend is They Were Here Before Us by Eric LaRocca. This one comes in at about 96 pages, and this one is a novella that's a novella in pieces. So it's kind of like a short story collection, and some of the horror is told from the point of view of like animals and insects, and it's really interesting. Then I have Comfort Me with Apples. This one comes in at 103 pages long, and this one is about a woman who lives in a world that is perfect, and it's seemingly a little bit too perfect. And I think once you realize what's happening in this book, it's gonna freaking blow your mind. And then the next one I have is Crossroads by Laurel Hightower. This one comes in at 110 pages. This one has major Pet Cemetery vibes. It's definitely a bit more of an emotional book, and there's a lot of trigger warnings for self-harm scenes to the extreme, like holy shit, but it's so good. And then we have A House at the Bottom of a Lake by Josh Mallerman. This one comes in at around 118 pages. This one's just about these two teenagers who go on a date together and they discover this house at the bottom of a lake, and it's super creepy and really weird. And then we have Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke by Eric LaRocca. This short story is a collection of multiple short stories, but the actual story that I'm talking about is only 120 pages long. And this story in particular just follows these two women who are chatting over email in the early 2000s, and then things kind of quickly turn sinister. It's really weird and really dark, and definitely not for everyone, but I freaking loved it. And then we have Below by Laurel Hightower. This one comes in at 124 pages. This one involves, let's just say, the Mothman. It involves like a snowy drive, major no exit vibes with this one, kind of because of that. Next up we have 1922 by Stephen King. This short story is only 132 pages long, and this one deals with this old farm that's in this family and rats. Rats. Then we have Night of the Mannequins by Stephen Graham Jones. This one's only 136 pages long, and this one is about a mannequin who potentially comes to life and starts killing people. So yeah, it's totally wild, totally crazy, one of my faves. And then next up we have The Hole. This one's only 137 pages, and this one, as the description says, it's a Korean take on Misery by Stephen King. We follow a husband, and when his wife dies, his mother-in-law starts taking care of him, but we don't know if we can trust her. And then we have The Ballad of Black Tom. This one is 149 pages, and this one is a little bit more of like the fantasy horror side. We deal with some dark magic in this book. And then we have True Crime. This one is 156 pages, and this one follows these two siblings who are kind of like a Bonnie and Clyde because they kill their mom and then they go on a cross-killing spree across the country. And then the next recommendation that I have is And Then I Woke Up. This one comes out 167 pages, and in this book these characters are dealing with an unusual plague that is somewhat similar to like a zombie apocalypse kind of situation, but this one's very interesting. It's very slow-paced and very thought-provoking. And then we have Cirque Berserk, which comes in at 172 pages. This one takes place mostly in the summer of 1989. There's also an abandoned carnival, and this one is more of like a slasher type of horror, but it's still so fun. I'm not even the biggest fan of slashers, but this one was such a good time. And then we have Gone to See the Riverman, which comes in at 182 pages. This one is an extreme horror book, just so you know. We follow this woman who's kind of obsessed with this man who's a serial killer, and then she takes this journey with her sister to do something for him. It's very dark, it's very strange, but I really enjoyed this one. And then the last book in this category is We Need to Do Something by Max Booth III. This one comes in at 188 pages, and this one involves a family that is on the verge of self-destruction who are hiding in their bathroom because of a tornado warning, and then they get trapped there. This one will also make you feel like you're losing your goddamn mind. So the next category in this video is going to be books that are just about 200 pages or just a little bit over 200 pages, but they are still incredibly short and really easy to get through. So the first book on this list is going to be Follow Me to Ground, which comes in at 208 pages. This one also does lean a little bit more on the fantasy horror side, but it's about this woman and her dad, and they have healing powers in the town. It's this really unique, hypnotic, amazing novel that I can't seem to forget even though it's been a while since I've read it. And then we have Tender is the Flesh, which comes in at around 211 pages, and this one involves a world where humans start eating other humans and cannibalism is like the new norm. This takes place in a dystopian world where it's no longer safe for humans to eat animals, so what do? We start eating humans. Yep, this novel is naturally very disturbing and very graphic, but also very thought-provoking. Alright, and then we have Moon of the Crusted Snow. This one comes in at 213 pages, and this one follows, it has like kind of like a snowy atmosphere, snowy winter atmosphere. It takes place in this post-apocalyptic world where people are kind of cut off from the rest of civilization. And then we have The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. This one is a classic horror novel that only comes in at 223 pages, and this one, as you might have guessed, it involves a haunted house. It involves these people who come to stay the night in this house because this guy is trying to test if this house is actually haunted. Very different from the show, but still an enjoyable book in my opinion. And then we have I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. This book is only 224 pages, and even though I highly recommend the audiobook for this one, I still think the physical book would be a good reading experience. This one is this like really weird psychological book that's about this guy who takes his girlfriend to meet his parents at this farm that's like in the middle of fucking nowhere, and it's just very weird. I think unsettling is the word that I would use to describe this book. And then we have The Patient by Jasper DeWitt, which only comes in at 224 pages. This is one of the scariest books that I've ever read. Like, this is one of the only books that I've read that made me want to sleep with the lights on. Like, I was terrified. And this one basically just deals with this patient, and we get to learn about him through the different, you know, doctors that are working with him in the hospital. And then we have You've Lost a Lot of Blood by Eric LaRocca. This one's only 236 pages, and this book is kind of hard to describe because it's a story within a story, and then there's a ton of little like creepy drawings and little poems that these characters have written also throughout the book. But we mainly follow these two guys who are boyfriends, and one of them wants to kill the other. And then we also have a story within a story that's called You've Lost a Lot of Blood. And then we have When the Reckoning Comes by LaTanya McQueen. This one is 237 pages, and in this book we follow this black woman who is coming back home to her small town where her white best friend is getting married on what used to be a plantation. And they've turned it into this fancy resort, and it's very uncomfortable, very unsettling, and this plantation, this land might be haunted. And then I also would recommend Hide and Seeker. This one actually is a middle grade book, and this one is 238 pages. I wasn't the biggest fan of this one, but I wanted to include it on this list because it does have kind of like Stranger Things vibes. It involves a lot of kids, and it does have that middle grade vibe to it though, so if you like middle grade horror, then I would recommend this one. The last category that I have for this video is for books that are more than 200 pages, but pretty significantly less than 300 pages. These are still books that I think, even though they're a little bit over 200 pages, they're still pretty quick horror books and ones that I would highly recommend. So the first one we have is Pen Pal. This one is only 243 pages, and this one is almost like a collection of short stories. Like, each different chapter is a memory from this character's childhood as he's reflecting on his childhood as an adult and kind of realizing that things that were happening to him were a little bit creepy. It also kind of involves this like anonymous pen pal element to it that's also really creepy. This one has major like somebody's watching you from the woods kind of vibes, and I just love it. And then we have Horror Store by Grady Hendrix. This one's only 248 pages, and this one is super cool. I highly recommend reading this book physically because the physical book is such an experience. Like, it looks like an IKEA catalog, and this one's about a store that is very similar to IKEA that's haunted, and we kind of follow the employees as they have to stay over in the store one night. It's super fun. And then I have A Dowry of Blood, which this one is only 248 pages as well. This one is more of a vampire kind of horror. We follow this woman who is one of the brides of Dracula, and this book is written in a really beautiful and interesting way where she's writing it to Dracula, so it's written in like the second person style. And this book has some of the most beautiful writing that I think I've ever read in a book ever, and definitely one of the best writing I've ever seen in a horror book. And then we have The Saturday Night Ghost Club. This one is about 253 pages, and this one, honestly, it feels a little bit more like a coming of age story than a horror, but I thought it was so good that I included it anyways because this one just really gives you all those like nostalgic kind of like 80s vibes. And then I have Daphne by Josh Mallerman. This one's only 254 pages, and this one is this really interesting horror novel about this woman named Daphne who haunts the high school girls basketball team. If you think about her, she'll come and get you. It's kind of like Bloody Mary, you know, very interesting stuff. And then there's also Foe by Ian Reid. This one's only 261 pages. This one is about this couple who is just out on their farm, you know, living their lives in the middle of nowhere when this random man stranger shows up on their property, and he says that the guy, Junior, has been selected to travel to space. So there's definitely a little bit of sci-fi element in this one as well, but the horror in this book is really unique and really cool. Ian Reid is just really good at that psychological kind of horror, you know? And then we have This Thing Between Us. This one is only 272 pages, and this one is about a man who loses his wife and the grief that he has to endure after that. And this one also just has this really eerie and like creepy atmosphere to it. I wouldn't necessarily call this book scary personally, but it has a lot of real life horror in it that I think is really terrifying. And then we have The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay, which is only 272 pages. This one is about this gay couple who go to their cabin that's out in the middle of the woods, and then these four people show up and they tell them that the apocalypse is going to happen unless they perform this one awful, cruel act. And it's totally horrific and really scary. I think the home invasion aspect of this book is definitely scary. I love the idea of this like looming apocalyptic situation that you don't know if it's real or not. You don't know if you can trust them. And then I have The Shuddering by Anya Alborn. This one is only 283 pages, and this one is kind of like a monster horror. We follow these friends who go up to their cabin that's at the top of this snowy mountain, and then while they're up there, there's this monster that is like brutally attacking fighting and killing people, and this monster is just kind of like hunting them down. It sounds kind of lame when I pitch it to you like that, but I swear this book is so good. It's so creepy. It's like watching a monster horror movie. Like, it just feels so intense. And then the last one that I have to recommend is one that I didn't enjoy a ton, but I know a lot of other people really enjoyed it, so I wanted to include it on this list, and that's A Head Full of Ghosts by Paul Tremblay, because this one is only 286 pages, and this one is about this young girl who gets possessed, and there's like a reality TV show about it. Again, it was like about a 3-star book for me, I think. It's been a while since I've read it, but I didn't have the strongest feelings towards it, but I know a lot of people in the horror community really love this one, so I thought I would mention it anyways. Yeah, those are all of the different horror book recommendations that I have for you today. I'm so excited about this list. I've been wanting to make a video dedicated to horror novellas for quite some time, but I actually really like the idea of doing a video like this even better, where I kind of break it up based off of the length of the book, so you can get an even better idea of how short or long the book is. Because I don't know about you, but sometimes I just crave something that's going to be short and easy to get through, but something that's still going to be effective, you know, something that's still going to stay on my mind and really creep me out. I talk about this all the time with horror, but I feel like horror is one of the only genres that can really work for me in a short story format, because it doesn't take a lot to really scare you as a reader, and I think there's so much an author can do with just a short amount of time in a horror book, you know? But with that being said, let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you've read any of these horror books and what you think of them, or let me know if you plan to pick up any of these horror books now that I've recommended them. I would really love to know that. Also, let me know if you would like to see like the reverse of this video, I guess, kind of, where I recommend horror books that are really long. I was thinking I would do like a video that's kind of similar to this, where I just mention the horror books that are the longest that I've ever read that I've really enjoyed, because I know sometimes when I read a horror book that's really long, I can feel like it's just too long, or like it's overwritten, or there's no need for a horror book to be that long. I'm looking at you, Stephen King. But there's also the case where I have enjoyed some horror books that are on the longer side, and so I would love to know if you'd like to see a video kind of like similar to this one, but with like the lengthier horror books that are kind of like 350 pages or over, or even 400, 500, 600 pages, like that kind of thing. And let me know just in general your thoughts on horror novellas and what you think about them and which ones are your favorites. If you have any recommendations for me based off of these ones that I really like that you think that I should read that I haven't yet, then please, of course, let me know. I'm always looking for new recommendations. And thank you so much for watching as always, and I will see you very soon with another video. Bye.